The top stories tonight in Y News. Chinese warships and militia vessels remain moored in the West Philippine Sea despite diplomatic protest.
Fresh batch of dolomite sand poured again along Manila Bay despite criticisms.
The Food and Drug Administration to include reports of severe blood clots in evaluating Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine.
And NASA shares image of blue dunes on Mars. Good evening, Philippines and the world. We are now reporting live from Cubao, Quezon City. Today is Wednesday, April 14, 2021. I am Horilyn Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming, wild streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news. The National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea denounced the continuous warming in the West Philippine Sea by the Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia, which are claimed by Chinese authorities to be ordinary fishing vessels. Leia Ilagan has the story.
An estimated 240 Chinese vessels continue to linger in the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. The National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea said this was observed by sovereignty patrols conducted on April 11. The Armed Forces of the Philippines Western Command reported the presence of Chinese maritime militia vessels in the territorial waters of the municipality of Kalayaan, province of Palawan, and the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. The AFP Westcom said that the Chinese vessels were found in the following areas: 136 vessels at Burgos Reef, 9 vessels at Julian Felipe Reef, 65 at Chigua Reef, 6 at Panganiban Reef, 3 at Zamora Reef, 4 at the Pag-asa Islands, 1 at Licas Island, 5 at Kota Island, and 11 at Ayungin Shoal. The task force said the deployed vessels can catch 1 ton or 240,000 kilos of fish from Philippine waters every single day. Also spotted during the sovereignty patrol were the following People's Liberation Army Navy or planned vessels: 2 Hubei-class missile warships at Panganiban Reef, 1 Corvette-class warship at Cagitingan Reef, and 1 Navy tugboat at Zamora Reef. Further, 2 Chinese Coast Guard vessels were seen in the territorial sea of the Pag-asa Islands. Additional monitoring by the AFP reported 2 planned, 3 Chinese Coast Guard and 10 maritime militia vessels at Bajo de Masinloc or Scarborough Shoal. All these warships of the PLA Navy contribute to the militarization of the area. The NTF-WPS said the combined presence of PLN Navy warships, Chinese Coast Guard, and Chinese maritime militia in the municipality of Kalayaan and the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone is prejudicial to the peace and security of the region. The task force further called on China to respect Philippine sovereignty. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
A maritime expert and analyst warned the Philippine government to step up in protecting the exclusive economic zone of the Philippines. Meanwhile, former Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio calls anew for the strengthening of alliances with other countries. Nel Maribahok reports why.
21 incidents of Chinese Coast Guards encountering the Philippines' exclusive economic zone have been recorded since 2014. According to maritime expert Professor J. Batumbakal, this is enough basis to substantiate the attempt of China to occupy, administer, and control the South China Sea.
Naging mas mahalaga this time na ang Pilipinas, panindigan nga niya yung mga karapatan niya na yung mga Chinese vessels na yun na sobra-sobrang ang dami ay hindi nga manatili dun sa lugar na yon.
Based on other experts' analysis, if the Philippine government will continue in its weak policy, other foreign countries will continue to occupy more features in its territory.
If this weakness continues, we will surely see more features being occupied by foreign countries.
The Department of Foreign Affairs has repeatedly filed a diplomatic protest against China, but it seems it has no effect on China. So the former Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio calls on you for the other countries to unite.
The nations of the world must unite to strongly push back China.
Experts' advice to the government is to strengthen its maritime patrol and presence in the West Philippine Sea. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Chinese Foreign Ministry appealed to Philippine officials to stop hyping up and giving negative comments over the situation in the West Philippine Sea. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian said that certain Philippine officials should avoid giving negative reactions on the bilateral relations, peace, and stability in the South China Sea. China reiterates that they are prepared to settle the issues with the Philippines through friendly consultations. Meanwhile, Filipino workers are still in demand in China amid the ongoing dispute in the West Philippine Sea. Dante Amento tells us why.
The Philippines and China will soon sign bilateral agreements for the protection of Filipino workers in the country. This is amid the ongoing tensions between Philippines and China over the presence of Chinese vessels in the West Philippine Sea.
Hindi siguro rin kasi nung kasalukuyan nagkakainitan dyan sa West Philippine Sea, may natanggap akong communication from China through their embassy. Yung Minister of Labor nila nagpakita ng interest na pag-usapan namin yung possible bilateral agreement.
Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III says more Filipino workers such as English teachers are needed in the country. China also intends to put up a Philippine Overseas Labor Office or POLO in Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. Bello believes it only shows that job opportunities await for Filipinos.
Kailangan nila ng mga musician, yung mga entertainers, yung mga singers, dami yan, yung mga skilled workers, yung mga equipment operators, kailangan nila yan. Gustong-gusto nila yung mga English teachers.
The Department of Foreign Affairs has summoned Chinese Ambassador Huang Zilian on Monday to express utmost displeasure over the presence of Chinese vessels off the Julian Felipe Reef. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Philippine Coast Guard retrieved an estimated 57 million worth of giant clam shells in a joint counter-action operation in Palawan on Tuesday. Authorities recovered 16,467 pieces of giant clam shells hidden in a tent at a residential lot owned by a certain John G. Moreno, situated in Purok Bonbon, Barangay Panacan, Nara, Palawan. According to Moreno, he was the caretaker of the giant clam shells allegedly owned by a certain Rolando Eliazar. According to the PCG, Eliazar will be investigated for his alleged involvement in the illegal collection of giant clam shells. Giant clams have been tagged as endangered species due to massive poaching for various purposes, such as jewelry making and ornamental shell trade. The dumping of fresh dolomite sand in Manila Bay has again drew criticism amid the worsening pandemic situation in the country. According to the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR, they cannot stop a government project. However, a law expert suggests otherwise. Rosalie Cos explains why.
A fresh batch of crushed dolomite was poured again at the coast of Manila Bay. This is part of the 389 million pesos worth of nourishment project in Manila Bay, which aims to rehabilitate and protect the coastal resources in the area to prevent flooding and erosion. Rock formations are also placed over some parts of the area. According to DNR Undersecretary Jonas Leones, the funds used for the project is under the 2019 national budget, and the contract was awarded prior to the pandemic. The project also has been delayed by the health crisis, but the government eyes to finish it by the third quarter of the year. In a DNR statement, it says the government cannot simply stop a project when it is under a contractual obligation to proceed. The DENR says the target completion of the nourishment project of Manila Bay is on the third quarter of 2021. Some critics are questioning the timing of the project implementation amid the COVID-19 surge in the country. Many lost their jobs and are seeking for government assistance. Meanwhile, according to pamantasan ng lungsod ng Maynila, College of Law Dean Attorney George Erwin Garcia, the government can stop or delay implementing any project by justifying the health crisis we are in now.
Because we are in a national emergency. Pandemya ito, madaling i-justify at pwedeng ma-justify yung pagpapatigil ng isang proyekto at para yan ay maging tinatawag na savings. Lahat ng kontrata nakadepende sa mga pangyayari, especially kung mga tinatawag na supervening event na hindi naman na-predict ng mga partido sa kontrata.
The palace refused to give its statement on the matter. Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
For those watching our 24/7 live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. The effects of the 2-week enhanced community quarantine or ECQ implemented in the National Capital Region Plus bubble has yet to reflect on the country's daily COVID-19 cases. According to the Department of Health, the decline of daily infections yesterday is not the result of the strict lockdown. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
The Health Department recorded on Tuesday 8,571 new COVID-19 cases. This is lower compared to the average daily record of more than 10 to 12,000. But Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergara explained this is just an artificial decline as many testing laboratories were non-operational over the weekend.
And dito pong mga kaso na ito at ang medyo pagbaba ng kaso is an artificial decline. Dahil po nung linggo, ang nagbukas ang hindi operational, non-operational labs total to 36, no? So meron ho tayong 36 na non-operational labs, and it has affected the number of cases that we had been able to detect and was able to report yesterday.
Undersecretary Vergara also said licensed testing laboratories need to close at least once a week to decontaminate machines in labs. The health official adds the effects of the 2-week enhanced community quarantine in NCR Plus have yet to be seen after 2 weeks.
We know that the incubation period of this virus is 14 days. So mag-uumpisa tayo ng bilang dun sa unang araw ng ECQ natin at pahaba, no, or longer, no, going into these weeks.
Meanwhile, the DOH reminded again the local government units to strictly implement health protocols in vaccination sites. LGUs are also urged to implement a system in distributing the financial aid to ECQ hit residents.
This is a possible super spreader event, lalong-lalo na kung talagang kumpulan ng tao at saka enclosed yung space ng pagbibigay ng bakuna. We also have reminded our local governments na magkaroon ng scheduling para hindi po nagkukumpul-kumpul ang ating mga kababayan pag sila ay nagpapabakuna.
The DOH also reported that most COVID-19 infection clusters are from communities, and there are now clusters observed in workplaces like hospitals, offices, and other institutions. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippines recorded 8,122 new novel coronavirus COVID-19 infections today, bringing the total tally to 892,880. In its bulletin, the Department of Health said the latest figure pushed the country's total active cases to 173,047. The agency, however, noted that the tally does not include data from 12 laboratories that failed to submit their reports on time. It further explained that the low case count is due to the low testing output of laboratories on April 12. The DOH also announced that the total recoveries rose to 704,386 after 501 more patients recovered from the viral respiratory disease. The death toll, meanwhile, climbed to 15,447 with 162 new fatalities.
The Department of Health has explained the remark of vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. that the country should expect a mid-year surge of COVID-19 cases. Meanwhile, some medical experts are also urging the government to fast-track its efforts in improving the health system capacity of the country as COVID-19 cases continue to rise. Arlene Delgado will tell us why.
The Department of Health said that the country must be prepared should another surge of COVID-19 cases occurs. This was the explanation made by the department following the remark of National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer and Vaccine Czar Carlito Galvez in an interview that they are expecting another COVID-19 surge by June or July.
I think si Secretary Galvez was taken out of context, no? Ang sinasabi niya kasi, we must always be ready for any possible circumstance na tataas na naman yung mga kaso natin in the coming months. Kaya dapat lagi tayong handa.
Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergara says they are continuously improving the healthcare system of the country, such as increasing bed units, putting up extension facilities of hospitals, and hiring health workers. Former Health Secretary Esperanza Cabral also believes that the country should be prepared whenever another surge happens, but noted that the government should have started the preparations way earlier.
Kailangan talaga damihan at bilisan ang pagtatrabaho kasi yan na yung problema natin sa testing, kulang ang testing. Yan ang problema natin sa tracing, kulang ang tracing.
Former IATF advisor Dr. Tony Liachon is also alarmed with the ongoing average number of cases and mortality rates. He also suggested the government to ramp up its testing capacity from the current 28,000 to 100,000 a day.
Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa tayo nagpipeak. So ibig sabihin mag-ingat kayo kasi wala tayong plateauing na magdi-decrease yung cases natin na kunyari bababa ng 6,000, 5,000, bababa din yung number of deaths, yung hospital luluwag, yung positivity rate bababa sa 5%, reproduction number natin bababa. So we don't see a silver lining at this point in time.
At the rate things are going, the medical experts are asking the leaders of the health department and the IATF to be transparent and assess their performance in the country's fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
Kulang yung parang tinatawag na talagang mahusay na pagkukumpas mula sa taas. There's a lack of cohesive and inspiring leadership.
I think they should stop pretending or that they are doing a good job. If they do not accept that the job they are doing has some deficiencies and inadequacies, what will they do about it? They will just keep doing what they're doing.
Arlene Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The government continuously finds ways in increasing the country's COVID-19 health facilities and vaccination sites. One of them is by converting tourist spots and other big venues into health facilities. Asher Kadapan Jr. details why.
The government as well as private sectors is getting ready for the mass vaccination of the general population. With this, the Department of Health leads in coordinating with different agencies, local government units, and private companies in increasing the vaccination sites. The government is looking to open mega vaccination sites in big venues like coliseums, stadiums, and tourism sites.
Ang unang example dyan, yung Nayong Filipino po na dati ay nakasara. Aside from that, the private sector already has committed as part of their corporate social responsibility. Tutulong po sila sa atin for free.
The Commission on Higher Education confirmed that 17 universities have already agreed to utilize their facilities as vaccination sites. The Department of Tourism, on the other hand, approved the proposal of the Manila City government to use portions of Rizal Park in establishing drive-through vaccination sites as well as a temporary mobile hospital. The National Parks Development Committee, however, assures that the original condition of Luneta will be restored after its use.
They need a space, tapos we can provide it naman for them, and of course kung ibabalik naman siya in its condition, that's really fine with us. Kasi ngayon, since MECQ, we're also closed, so mas magandang i-repurpose mo na lang yung open space for maximum use or parang kung better use of the space.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority has started its vaccination rollout for its personnel using CoronaVac vaccines from China's Sinovac Biotech. JP Nunez reports.
MMDA personnel are among the essential workers even during the pandemic. With their line of work, they are prone to be infected by COVID-19. That is why the MMDA has started its vaccination rollout to its employees. 200 senior citizens and persons with comorbidities were first to receive the CoronaVac vaccine.
Sana maunawaan dahil talagang kawawa ang mga empleyado ng MMDA at nasa harap sila ng tao araw-araw. Importante sa lahat mapabukunahan dahil mas paano hindi lang ang empleyado may proteksyon kundi ang kasama niya sa opisina at lalong-lalo ng kanyang pamilya.
The MMDA employees did not hesitate to get their first dose of vaccine.
Unang-una, ang prone ng sakit na to, tinatamaan ito mostly matatanda katulad ko. Kailangan ko talaga sumunod ko ano yung nararapat.
Marami kong sakit. Meron akong diabetes, may hypertension, meron din akong bronchial asthma. So, kapag kasi tinamaan ako ng COVID, mas delikado kasi yun eh. Kaya nung nag-enroll sa amin na magkakaroon ng vaccine, talagang pinursige ko talaga na makasama ako sa mga unang batch.
The MMDA has recorded 771 cases of COVID-19 with active cases currently at 100. About 8 personnel have died from the disease. MMDA aims to inoculate 8,000 of its employees whose majority has duties in the highways and considered high risk to COVID-19. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Bureau of Immigration warned against the new modus of illegal recruiters victimizing former overseas Filipino workers who wish to work abroad again. Marvin Canas will tell us why.
On April 5, the Bureau of Immigration was able to prevent a former overseas Filipino worker that is bound to Dubai. An immigration officer verified the overseas employment certificate presented by the OFW, and under inspection, it was found out that the latter's visa was already cancelled. This prompted the Bureau of Immigration to warn illegal recruiters aiming to victimize former OFWs having expired visa and employment contract. Their modus is to offer new tourist visa and a promising job abroad using an old employment certificate.
Ito pong paraan na binibigay nitong mga illegal recruiter na to ay po tama. So it's a circumvention of the law. Ang pinapakita po nila ay mga hindi na po valid na mga dokumento.
BI spokesperson Dana Sandoval says this modus is dangerous as it often results to maltreatment of Filipinos by their foreign employers. It may also result to underpaid salary and human trafficking. Sandoval advised not to trust doubtful transactions and recruitments.
Kung kayo po ay sinasabihan ng inyong recruiter na itago nyo po itong visang ito, huwag nyo pong sasabihin sa immigration yung mga ganito, ito lang po ang ipapakita nyo mga dokumento, magduda na po tayo.
To check for accredited and legitimate recruitment agencies, visit the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration or POEA website at www.poea.gov.ph. Those involved in the illegal recruitment will face charges against Republic Act No. 8042, otherwise known as the Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos Act of 1995. Marvin Calas, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Bilateral agreements from other countries has been delayed due to the pandemic. However, the Philippines and Canada are set to sign a labor pact by next month. Ray Pelayo explains why.
Protection for overseas Filipino workers is one of the priority of the Philippine government. That is why the Department of Labor and Employment always seeks an agreement to their counterpart abroad that favors OFWs. Secretary Silvestre Bello III said that by May this year, the Philippines and Canada will sign a labor agreement. Many skilled workers, equipment operators, teachers, and cooks are needed in Canada.
Maganda itong development na ito na magkakaroon tayo ng bilateral agreement para mabigyan ng sapat na proteksyon ang ating mga kababayan.
Bello said the agreement includes the provisions that OFWs should take hold of their personal belongings like passport and cell phone. Other provisions states the amount of salary, working hours, insurance, and even schedule of rest. Dole said bilateral agreement is also on the table with Russia, China, and countries in the Eastern Europe, particularly in Czech Republic, Romania, and Poland. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Johnson & Johnson delays its rollout of its COVID-19 vaccine in Europe. Marvy Delfin will tell us why live. Marvy?
Jago, just as several European countries were poised to start their inoculation campaigns later this week, Johnson & Johnson announced the decision after US CDC and FDA both recommended immediate suspension of the use of the jab while cases of blood clots were being investigated. More than 6.8 million doses have been administered in the US, and among these, 6 women aged between 18 and 48 reported severe symptoms of cerebral venous sinus thrombosis, along with low levels of platelets, occurring 6 to 13 days after vaccination. According to an FDA official, one of the women died while another was hospitalized in critical condition. In a statement, the U.S. vaccine manufacturer said it was aware of the rare health repercussions and that it would review the cases with health authorities, while the bloc's drug regulator said it was not clear if there was a link between the vaccine and the clots, adding that it treated the reports as a safety signal that required further assessment. The CDC and FDA has released a joint recommendation to people who were given the J&J vaccine who are experiencing severe headaches, abdominal pain, leg pain, or shortness of breath within 3 weeks after the shot to contact their health provider. Back to you, Jago.
Thank you, Marvy Delfin, reporting live from Australia.
Meanwhile, the Food and Drug Administration will thoroughly review the emergency use authorization application of Johnson & Johnson following reports of severe blood clot cases. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
The Food and Drug Administration assures that they are considering the safety and efficacy of a vaccine before approving it for use in the country. This after reports of blood clotting cases after receiving jabs of Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine in other countries. According to FDA Director General Eric Domingo, they will include the reports on their evaluation.
Ito kasing Janssen na bakuna, very similar din siya sa ASTRAZENECA, no? Ito mga adenoviral na vector vaccines. At ito nga yung isang nakikita, itong possible na very rare cases of blood clotting. So kung patapos naman po ang evaluation nito at magkaroon ng recommendation, of course it will probably have recommendations then on how to guide vaccinators at saka yung mga vaccinees to watch out for such events at saka kung ano pong gagawin pag may naramdaman sila.
The clinical trial of Janssen is still ongoing in the Philippines and FDA is strictly monitoring it. They are also weighing all the possible effects of a vaccine to an individual.
Well, para pumasa rin naman siya sa US at saka WHO, ibig sabihin the benefit of using the vaccine definitely mas matimbang, no, outweighs the harm. Kaya naman po inaaral lang din natin pag ganito na kinakalibrate lang natin para pag gagamitin siya, nakahanda rin naman tayo kung paano yung tamang guidelines.
According to the DOH, information like such incident is essential to help experts in the evaluation of COVID-19 vaccines.
Well, it depends, no? Sa bawat mga ganitong insidente at sa bawat mga ganitong lumalabas sa mga clinical trials, ang mga manufacturers po have that responsibility of submitting this kind of incidents to the regulatory authority that they are applying to. So in the case of the Philippines, nag-a-apply sila sa FDA.
Meanwhile, FDA admits there is a pressure on the approval of ivermectin for COVID-19 patients' use, but applicants should still complete the requirements and comply with FDA's regulations. There is still no concrete evidence to prove ivermectin's efficacy against COVID-19. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
A new set of guidelines in administering ASTRAZENECA COVID-19 vaccines is expected to be out soon. In a press briefing, Food and Drug Administration Director General Eric Domingo said they are currently finalizing the guidelines, which may be released this week. Domingo made the announcement several days after the FDA asked the Department of Health to temporarily stop giving ASTRAZENECA COVID-19 vaccines to persons aged 60 and below, due to concerns over very rare cases of blood clots in persons who received the vaccine in other countries. Domingo said the guidelines will be released for those who will be giving the vaccine so they can properly advise those who will be getting the vaccine in terms of what symptoms to watch out for. The One Hospital Command Center has apologized to callers whose calls for hospital referrals were unanswered. In an online forum, One Hospital Command Center Operations Head Dr. Bernadette Velasco said they are now overwhelmed with calls with an average of 400 calls a day. Velasco said they will augment their call takers and expand their operating lines. The One Hospital Command Center is open 24/7 and the public is advised to contact the DOH COVID-19 hotline 1555.
And for the news abroad, the Queen physically resumes her royal duties just days after her husband, Prince Philip, passed away. Amiel Pascual will tell us the details live. Amiel?
Good evening, Kath. The Queen was reportedly set to resume her duties next week after her 95th birthday, but the monarch needed to hold a retirement ceremony for a special senior royal official. The Queen held a private event at Windsor Castle, and as the Queen continues to fulfill her royal duties, the Queen of York said that the close circle of the royal family will continue to support the Queen in her solo engagements. Currently, the royal family is observing 2 weeks of mourning for the late Duke awaiting his funeral, which is set to take place at St. George's Chapel in Windsor on Saturday. Kath?
Thank you, Amiel Pascual, for that live report. NASA shares image of blue dunes on Mars. Early Briones reports.
The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, has released a magnificent photo of the Sea of Blue Dunes on Mars, taken by the Odyssey orbiter to mark the 20th anniversary of this longest working Mars spacecraft in history. The photo shows the blue dunes covering the red planet's northern polar cap, where the temperature can reach as low as -150 degrees Celsius. According to NASA, they were sculpted by the wind covering an area as large as U.S. state Texas, with an area about 695,662 square kilometers. It is a false color picture, where the area with cooler temperatures are recorded in blue tints, while warmer areas are in yellow and orange, showing the beautiful golden glow. As per NASA, this scenery combines images captured during the period of December 2002 to November 2004 by the Mars Odyssey using a thermal emission imaging system on the spacecraft. The Mars Odyssey orbiter is a robotic spacecraft circling the planet and detecting water and ice, while studying the Martian geology and radiation environment since 2001. Early Briones, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
A plywood manufacturer in Finland may be sending the world's first wooden satellite to orbit later this year. Maven Dog will tell us why.
In a joint mission between companies UPM Plywood, Arctic Astronautics, and HALD, the first ever wooden satellite will be launched into Earth's orbit by the end of 2021. The Finland-based project Visa Woodsat is based on the popular CubeSat standard KitSat, a format made specifically for educational purposes, usually from earthly components, but can also be made using space-rate materials. Originally starting from students from around the country, contributing different parts and hardware to a CubeSat, the Woodsat will now be getting an upgrade in order to survive the harsh environment in space. Visa Woodsat mission manager Yari McKinnon from Arctic Astronautics said that while a wooden satellite with a selfie stick will raise smiles, he highlights that this is a serious science and technology endeavor. The Visa Woodsat satellite will be launched by Rocket Lab's Electron launch vehicle and will take place from the Mahia Peninsula Launch Complex in New Zealand. Mavian Dog, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Kat Maraos, live from Bangkok, Thailand. Good evening.
And those are the reasons behind the news, April 14, 2021. I am Herlene Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.